Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture, comics, and gaming podcast. Today we are talking the Sony-Disney deal, the future of Spider-Man, and all the good stuff that came out of D23 and how it affects the future of TV streaming. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
Oh, Ken, you are a huge Spider-Man fan, and
Absolutely.
I can't believe we haven't even talked about this yet.
Yes, I know.
Are you sad?
It's going to be a couple of weeks old news by the time this hits, and it's very frustrating to own a comic shop, be a Spider-Man fan, get all excited about how Far From Home ended, and then almost have the proverbial rug pulled out from all of our feet after the fact that Sony and Disney don't want to play kind anymore.
And I think it's good we took so long to really talk about these nuances, because the initial reports said that Disney was being really greedy by asking for 50% of the revenue on top of 100% of the merchandise sales. But now it comes to light that it was only 30%, which is actually a lot more reasonable, especially for Sony doing minimal work.
Yes. And I guess Kevin Feige wanted to move away to do other projects.
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I heard that rumor. I'm going,
that
what?
was the politically correct answer to say, like, oh, yeah, fine. Like, just pretending you don't care. Like, they do care. It was obvious that they were setting up Spider-Man to be an integral, like a pillar
yes.
of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. So, like, he's just pretending not to care. I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, dude. Far From Home set up Spider-Man to be the linchpin of the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. And of course, yes, there's rumors that they're going to go on to Eternals and do all these other movies that don't connect with the Avengers anymore. But Spider-Man is your guy that's going to be kept on being touched on. He can be anywhere at any time in any movie.
And it was going to be
fit.
It was going to be fun to see him interact with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, especially to see, because they were making Peter Parker be the genius that he is. Yes. And it would have been fun to see him not up against Reed Richards, but with Reed Richards, because now with, Tony Stark obviously gone, like, they're the big brains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now.
Yep, there's a reason why Marvel Team Up was around in the 70s through the 80s, and it linchpinned on Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Because everybody wants to come see Spider-Man no matter what it's in a comic book, in a newspaper, in a magazine, in a TV show, in a movie. Spider-Man sells, and Spider-Man is easy to connect in. He's the friendly guy you want. That's why it's called the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Not because he's a jerk and nobody wants to be around him. Yeah. It's like he's the easiest guy to get along with in all of comic books.
And, watching the old 90s Spider-Man cartoon, like, some of my favorite episodes were like, the X-Men showed up, Captain America showed up, Blade showed up. And they fought Morbius. Like, those episodes were so much fun. Like, wow, like, we're getting other characters popping up and they're handling it. Daredevil showed up. They're going to fight the Kingpin together. Like those were some of the most fun things. And what is Sony going to do? Because they're going to keep Tom Holland, but then pretend, pretend like Tony Stark never happened, still wrap up Far From Home, and like Happy Hogan's just gone, but you can't mention it. You can't reboot Spider-Man. You rebooted it twice in the last, 10 years? You can't reboot it again. How many times are you going to kill Uncle Ben? How many times are you going to do the Green Goblin? How many times are you going to do Venom? I thought the Venom had nothing to do with anything. Now you're going to bring Venom into it? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, this is almost like going to get super personal from my perspective of things. But this reminds me a little bit of my life growing up.
Okay.
It's like, man, Dad, God bless you, you're up in heaven now, I hope. But my dad got married 3 times.
Okay.
And when it was a divorce, it was ugly.
Yeah.
I couldn't communicate with my stepbrothers anymore. It was like a clean cut for a while.
Yeah.
And then there were times like that where it wasn't quite the divorce yet. It was the separation.
Yeah.
And like, I remember being in 5th grade, my dad's second wife, who I had 3 stepbrothers with, super cool people. I mean, my little brother got along better than the older stepbrothers, because I was the middle child at that point.
Yeah.
But then when it became separation time, like, I remember there was a point in 5th grade where they got separated, and at Christmas time, it was just me and my dad. And then after Christmas, it was like we got back together for the start of the new year. And then at the end of the school year, it was done. My dad packed up the room. Time to move out. We're done.
Okay.
And like, so maybe this is why it's so personal to me as a Spider-Man fan. I feel like that Sony and Disney are like bickering parents.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And the fans are the children, and we're the ones suffering.
Yes, and we're the children suffering because we didn't ask for any of this. Yes. I still love my stepbrothers. Do you know what I mean? And they still, got along with me. And think of it as almost like, it sounds super stupid, but like the Avengers. Do you know what I mean? Like the Spider-Man is that part of the family that's going to be removed from the rest of the family because the parents can't get along.
Yep. And I wish they figured it out just for the sake of the fans, because I mean, Sony felt like they were getting the short end of the stick, but I mean, and everyone's saying like, oh, Disney's bad. But I mean, like, it's Marvel's to begin with, and Disney owns Marvel. And I mean, this was an obvious next step, was getting a bigger piece of the pie as they have creative control and are putting their more time and money.
Marvel needs to start making prenup agreements.
Yeah,
exactly. To go back to my last point,
but Sony,
it's like, this is so absurd, like that they don't have control of their characters. And yes,
during the time,
too, it was kind of like this is so weird, like looking at life patterns of people. It's like that whole time too is like you're down on your luck, you need to make that extra money, but you get into more or less a business relationship with someone that is going to help you in the moment, but you're going to pay for it in the long term.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't make deals with things that are going to be hard for you to get out of.
Yep.
And that's unfortunately what Marvel did when they were going through their bankruptcy period. Yep. And to this day, all these years later, you know what I mean? Marvel's rebuilt, and they found the more wonderful husband or wife, however you want to look at it, with Disney. And Disney's the good wife or the good husband. But now he's got to deal with all the relationships that the wife or husband dealt with before they found the right marriage.
Yes,
does that make sense?
Yes, that's a great analogy.
And unfortunately, you don't like the other father or the mother of the child, but you got to deal with them.
Yep.
And you can't make them go away. And that's what feels like Disney's in that right now with, is like that they got rid of the first wife or husband with Fox. Now they have the second wife or husband, which is Sony, that they're dealing with. And they're going, man, dude, can we make this work? Hey, you know what? Visitation rights are doing great. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. I don't mind you going to see this, your real father or so on and so forth during this times. But unfortunately, this has got to stop. We need to make sure that we have a solid family for our characters, or for our kids, is what Marvel is in Disney now.
Sony is...
Weird analogy. It just popped in my head.
It's a perfect analogy, but I think, Sony's the parent. I mean, like, I don't think they
Sony's
really...
the step parent.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Sony is
right.
Sony is the, I guess, abusive parent, or the one that was just kind of more or less. This sounds. This is going to be PG-13. It's the parent that had fun but doesn't want the responsibility.
Yes, 100%. And it's not it's not the good choice, because how many times are you going to just reboot and tell the same Spider-Man story over and over again? Spider-Man does have has a great rogues gallery, has a lot of interesting characters, but I mean, you're making a Morbius movie now, and we could just talk about in the last episode, like, what characters don't need their own movies.
Yes.
I would argue Morbius is a character that does not need his own movie.
No, like Black Cat, as much as I like her, she doesn't need her own movie. Do you mean I'd love to see a Black Cat movie, but I don't think she needs it? Because that's just pure fan service, the Black Cat movie. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
I love Felicia Hardy. I prefer Felicia Hardy to Mary Jane, which few people say is a Spider-Man fan.
No, I agree with that. But I don't know if I would put Black Cat on that same boat. As long as she gets enough screen time.
Does Silver Sable need to be teamed up with her? Because I've heard that's the rumors. It's going to be
Black and Silver. Yeah. I would think that's that's a stupid concept.
Yes.
I think if you're going to do a team up movie, you do a Spider-Man Black Cat movie. Wow. Yes. That was so hard to come up with. How did I figure that out?
She's a co-star. She'd be great in a Spider-Man
She's
movie.
a great, because I think she might do okay as her own movie if you came up with a good plot and villains and she was popular enough. Like, I think you can do it. Do we need it right now?
No. Absolutely not.
But she needs to be introduced in a Spider-Man movie, regardless.
They did in the Andrew Garfield movie. They had Felicia Hardy show up as one of the Osborn assistants.
Yeah, and that was another false start to Black Cat. You know, unfortunately, like we're not getting there. And I would have loved to have gotten there within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What are they going to do with Venom?
Did we talk about in previous episodes, like the perfect way to bring in Felicia Hardy in that Far From Home story?
Yeah.
Like where Felicia Hardy actually aged the 4 years while they were gone?
I think so. I think we talked about it in one of the previous ones, and I think that would have been. And now what are you going to do?
Yep.
Here's another thing. Like, you're going to have is it going to be a sequel to Far From Home? Because the repercussions of the snap have huge implications on the ages and like the social structure of the children.
You could easily bring in Miles Morales and have them be around the same age.
Is that what they're going to do? Are they going to, when they run out of Peter Parker stories, are we going to start doing Miles Morales and then, Ghost Spider?
Yeah.
I mean, is that their plan? Because well,
what was their most successful movie for Far From Home was that Spider-Man animated.
Yes, Into the Spider-Verse. It was good. And it was good.
Yes,
and
it
was
awesome.
Fine. But, Far From Home made $1 billion because it followed Endgame and everyone wanted to know
how it ends.
Yeah. And it was a really good Spider-Man movie. Like there was 2 reasons for that. But, Sony might not get another $1 billion Spider-Man movie, especially not integrated in the Marvel universe, because that made the Spider-Man movies that much more better.
If I was going to play devil's advocate, I do believe Sony's got some cards that they can hold to say like that. I hate saying that because I want to see it fixed between the two of them as soon as possible. But I do feel Sony's got some leverage to do Spider-Man without Disney for the short term.
Okay.
And there's a few things that Sony's done well with Spider-Man that kind of established audiences for at least the next decade. And the main thing that I saw that was the Spider-Verse movie being the first thing, where you can throw Tom Holland into another spider dimension and have him team up with Miles Morales in a live action Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Spider-Man story.
But isn't that just doing a live action version of the animated movie?
It just doesn't have the extra characters yet. Or you could keep on having Tom Holland jump from universe to universe until they solve it. Like there is this Gwen Stacy Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen story. There is him jumping into a Silk universe.
There was rumors that they were going to do a Silk movie.
Yes, and then that way it's still Tom Holland linchpins them to get people to go see those movies about these other incarnations like the Spider-Man noir. Tom Holland gets thrown into, it's almost like Quantum Leap for Spider-Man. And it's just ways to kind of more or less keep Tom Holland as your Spider-Man. And then when they work it out, hey, look, just he had all these extra adventures to bring his experience to the Marvel Universe now. And the other one is the success of the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. I mean, it's done well as a comic book series. It's going into its second storyline franchise of the video game series. They can do, whether it's Tom Holland or another actor, an aged Peter Parker that is the same Spider-Man that's from the PlayStation 4 games, which is all Sony's, all their ideas. They know completely creative. Kind of like how we were talking a little bit before the podcast, how Marvel has developed this character all the way through, and all these other venues that are borrowing the characters don't know the true vision of those stories. They're just coming up with ideas based off of what they've read. And so it's almost like they are the parents of the PlayStation Spider-Man. They've got the concept. It's almost like a cousin to Spider-Man that grew up in a different family, but does have his own experiences. That doesn't make him any less part of the family. It's still just a cousin of Spider-Man type of family story that they can do. He has his own story. That is their story. That's their family experiences. And that's what they can build on for their movie franchise until Disney and Marvel get this all worked out.
And that's assuming they do it well.
I'm sorry, Sony and Disney, if they do it well. That's what I would see them do the most successfully, because those are their ideas, and it's done well with video game players.
That was more in reference to like if they suddenly drop a Silk movie.
Oh, I see.
Like how are you going to approach that concept? Are you going to introduce her in a Spider-Man movie first, or are they
going to do it in the PlayStation 4 universe?
Well, they keep wanting to do a Sinister Six movie, and like, why does it have to be a Sinister Six movie? Why is it not a Spider-Man movie where he's fighting the Sinister Six?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
That's a weird team up.
Spider-Man and whatever is going on.
That's weird.
Yes.
And what are you going to do? May have the twist be like they're just all misunderstood bad guys? Give me a break.
Yes.
Because they're not
like their
all
Suicide Squad of the Spider-Man universe.
No, that's not what we need.
Yeah, not
the
at
Sinister Six they're not all secretly good guys. Like that's not the point.
Yeah.
One or two of them can be secretly good guys.
Yes.
It worked for Sandman in the Raimi trilogy, and like that was fine. Like he had his reasons for doing the bad things.
Yeah, they're all tragic villains inside of the Sam Raimi universe.
It's not there's not room for everyone to be the misunderstood bad guy. I think there's going to be a finite amount of stuff they can do, and I think they're going to realize that they made a huge mistake not taking Disney's deal.
So what do you think about the fact of, something I was talking about with a customer earlier today before he came over, I dropped off some supplies at the store and he asked me about what I thought about the whole Sony and Disney debacle going on right now. And I said, another thing that Sony could maybe play hardball with, he goes, that's a very good point, which I don't know whether it is or not. It's fun to hear because I love hearing like customers agree with me. It doesn't mean that it's an obvious thing to do for Sony, but I would look hard into the contract of what does Spider-Man get them entailing of major characters in the Marvel Universe because they first debuted in Spider-Man. And then two ones that I talked about is like technically Spider-Man could play hardball at Sony and say, hey, we're going to do a Punisher movie and we're going to do a Kingpin that is fitting into our cinematic universe and we're taking D'Onofrio as our Kingpin and John Barenthal as our Punisher because that's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So can they share that actor since they've already established they're part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Tom Holland? Or does that cut the umbilical cord and they say, no, you can't use those guys at all?
I was looking at a list that somebody put together based on, various different sources. And according to that list, Sony does have shared rights to the Kingpin. Okay. And I'd imagine that would work the same way as Quicksilver has worked thus far between like Fox and Disney.
The difference on that, though, in the Fox and Disney, they were two separate storytells.
Exactly. So I think
Tom Holland's kind of worked those Netflix actors into their universe.
I think they would get in trouble for taking Vincent D'Onofrio.
Okay.
I bet.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be surprised if they didn't.
On that, 'cause that'd be interesting since they've shared so much already. Even that's, like I said, too, that family rights type of thing is their visitation rights.
Yeah.
With these actors inside of the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe since they made that connection.
So Punisher is with Netflix, and from what I could tell, there was no shared thing based on the first appearance. I think they considered Punisher their own franchise.
Did Marvel Studios make the Punisher Netflix show though too, right?
It was Netflix who put it together. So yeah, I mean
Marvel Studios though, because that's what I'm wondering about this whole thing. I know that they can't do any more stuff because of the Netflix deal that they had the right to produce them,
it's going to expire in a few years. Yes, right? Yeah. Because the Punisher rights came back to Marvel from, I believe it was New Line, so it was actually a whole separate set of rights. I would look at that the same way as Black Panther first appeared in a Fantastic Four comic.
Yes.
But Black Panther was not part of the Fantastic Four rights. Black Panther was its own separate franchise. So I think that's how that handled it because it wasn't a Spider-Man character. So I believe there are certain restrictions, but I think they can pull. I think they can do.
Can they pull Punisher and Kingpin into their universe now in Spider-Man?
I don't think they can pull Punisher, but I think they can use a Kingpin.
Okay.
I think it can be like somebody.
A different Kingpin actor altogether.
Yep. I bet they would get in trouble for using Vincent D'Onofrio. I could be wrong.
Because would that be kind of an intense type of hardball play? It's like that, okay, cool. We're just going to have Vincent D'Onofrio
play our own Kingpin.
Yeah, play our own Kingpin.
Wow, that would be weird.
Yeah, and then we're going to get John Barenthal. He's not the Punisher from your universe, but he's going to be our Punisher too. Do you know what I mean? And then people are going to love that because they're going to be able to relate. It's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same story, but we got that star power there too.
That's some messy stuff. And I don't know. I bet Disney would sue somebody. I don't know who, but.
Yeah, and I said too, it's like they changed the story enough. Like I said too, like Punisher Max versus Punisher Marvel Knights. Who knows type of thing on that, but interesting. Because I said too, like you're probably right since they did more or less license out Punisher individually before they did the Sony Spider-Man thing. That kind of in the contract, sorry, we already have Punisher licensed out. You can't use Punisher without getting permission from New Line Cinema now, type of thing. But who knows exactly? Probably that's like the out clause on that for sure is like that. Oh, we already licensed out Punisher before we licensed out Spider-Man. And it's like that. So it'd be kind of interesting if like New Line Cinema back in the day, well, technically we get, should that give us access to Spider-Man since Punisher first appeared in a Spider-Man book? And it's just all kinds of different types of hairiness, like when they license out the characters. And unfortunately, thank the 90s for all the comics crashing of too many different options and too much gimmicks, where Marvel almost had to, they did go through their bankruptcy stage, and Toy Biz Toys were the ones that bailed them out right before the bankruptcy proceedings of them selling off properties. And a couple of the properties that were protected were Captain America and Spider-Man, but everything else that was outside of that universe was up for sale. And the thing that was kind of the major change in all this history was that Toy Biz was the one to bail out Marvel to protect the X-Men toy license. And because Mattel did the deal with DC, because Toy Biz had both DC and Marvel toys, and around that time frame, Mattel bought the DC license. So because Toy Biz couldn't afford both Marvel and DC, and Mattel outbid Toy Biz for the DC action figure license. And then from there, one of the proceeds was talking about, like it was in Wizard, I remember, that where rumors are that X-Men's going to be on the cell block to help out, bail out Marvel from bankruptcy. And then that's when Toy Biz stepped in and said, we can't have that happen. And they bailed out Marvel. And then the rest is history. And one of the things that the new ownership team decided to do was start licensing out more of the properties, like, Fox with the X-Men, Sony with Spider-Man.
Unfortunate. I mean, for the time, it was very exciting.
Yes.
But I mean, now we had this
now
messy
it's the fallout.
Yeah. And I thought we were at the end,
Yes.
Fox was back.
Yep. It's crazy about how that happened. It's almost like that. I don't know who was the person that decided, like, okay, we need, maybe I said too, everyone's blaming Sony, but Disney's kind of got everything in their court now. They're thinking, so this should be, we're going to ask you for a little bit more, because what's Sony going to say? No, we want out. And that's exactly like they called their bluff. And Sony's kind of calling the bluff right now. It's like that. No, we're not going to give you guys that much. You guys get everything else. We just make what we can off of the Spider-Man license. We don't get the toy, as you said. We don't get the T-shirts.
And it's their highest grossing movies.
Yes, and their highest grossing movies. It's interesting. It's messy. I don't like it. It's sad that it's come to this. It's very frustrating.
I was just going to say, like, I'm incredibly frustrated.
Yes. Yep. I thought D23 was going to be resolved, but D23 came and went, and there's still no resolution.
Yeah, but they did announce a few new Netflix shows. We had She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel.
Yes. Oh my gosh, dude. Moon Knight and She-Hulk.
We were just talking about Moon Knight the other day, which is pretty funny.
Oh man, Moon Knight was going to be a blast if they handle it right. I hope they do handle it right.
I mean, at least it's being done by the Marvel Studios people, so we know we're not going to get like a Cloak and Dagger kind of thing, or even Runaways. I think it was hard to get through Runaways. I mean, like, I still watched it, but I mean, Moon Knight should be fun. I'm not very familiar with Moon Knight, so I read up on him, and I guess
multiple personalities.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, and I did not realize.
Can I tell you my dream scenario if they handle that series? I don't think it's something they can do, but I think it would be a blast to see where there's 3 different multiple identities of Moon Knight that they talk about in the comics. The first season, that goes through one of his personality identities through the whole season. And you see it's Moon Knight, the whole way through.
Yeah.
The second season is another identity that's Moon Knight. And you're going, okay, is there more than one Moon Knight? Is there 2 Moon Knights? In the third season, you see another identity that's Moon Knight. And then at the end of the third season, they reveal it's all the same guy. And so you don't know he's multiple personality until the end of the third season.
Well, the general audience isn't going to know, right?
Yes. And won't that be kind of a fun like that, as like that? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it'll be talked about what's actually going on. But that would be, I think, a fun way to like reveal this character. It's like, oh, wow. It's like we had 3 seasons of build up of 3 different, more or less, characters. And at the end, all three of them are the same character. Then you can have the characters more or less multiple personalities float in and out of episode to episode.
I like the idea. I think maybe 3 seasons is a slow burn for that, because people who don't know, who are not fans of the comics, are the only ones who are going to be surprised by this. Everyone else is going to see this coming for 3 years and wait 3 years for that payoff. And people who get into the comics are going to be spoiled by the fact. So maybe it just needs to be a little quicker.
It's like a season where they break it into 3 stages.
Sure.
And then
there go Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And then, maybe I haven't read a Moon Knight comic. I'm going to be completely honest. I know he's popped up in some comics that I've read, but I did not understand that he was schizophrenic.
Yes.
But maybe if one of them is like trying to solve what another one of them has been doing and he doesn't realize it's him, even like maybe, I don't know. Is that even a story
I think it would be great Fight Club type of
there you go.
for it.
That's,
you know what I mean?
That's a good way. I can do like, it's be the Fight Club superhero movie.
Yes. And it's like that. He's kind of, as I said too, dealing with that other voice in his head or other person working with him. And it's always him working with himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like that, or trying to figure this out type of thing. And then the superhero always pops up on the thing, looking at it from his perspective. And it's kind of like that's him too, obviously. So the 4 different personalities, and they're the Moon Knight, and then the 3 other, the taxi driver, and then, the soldier of fortune type of thing. And
I'm just surprised that they announced more shows, because we already announced so many shows.
Yes.
And then we have 3 more. I don't know. It's just like, when are these coming out? I don't know. It's just
not till 2022, right?
That's okay. So it's that far away. Then why? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they could have waited to announce that. But I'm super excited that we're going to get She-Hulk within continuity. Like I'm almost surprised we haven't set up She-Hulk yet, because because from what I understood, she got her powers from a blood transfusion from her cousin. And you could have worked that into almost any of these movies from the sheer fact of just having Bruce Banner around. Something gets knocked over, a building falls down. She needs blood right now. Like, are any of you, blood type A positive? Like, it's only Bruce. Like, no, I can't do that. Like, she's going to die if you don't do it. And like, it's life or death.
Yes.
On the moment, like, we need to do this blood transfusion right now. Do it. And then that could have been at the end. Like, he goes to visit her. Like, oh, you doing okay, Jennifer? Like, oh, I feel great. And she's all green. Like, how cool would that have been?
That'd be awesome. Like, they could totally use Eric Bana for that still, because it sounds like a lot of these characters, what I love about the old announcements from D23, they're not afraid to use the cinematic movie actors inside their TV shows.
No,
like
and I hope he's in that first
Huddleston
episode.
Loki, for instance. And
Jeremy Renner.
Yes, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. And oh man, I forgot Sebastian Shaw is going to be still the Winter Soldier Bucky.
Sebastian Shaw.
The Hellfire Club is going to be, Bucky now.
I was like, what are you saying?
No, dude, and I just forgot the Falcons actor's name.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie. And so they're not getting, new characters. They're using their cinematic actors to do these TV shows.
Yeah, it's great.
And even more exciting, I know it's not Marvel, but Ewan McGregor coming back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But it's still Disney doing it. Now they're applying this concept from Marvel and doing it
in
to
Star Wars
too,
which is brilliant D23 announcement.
Because I don't want to see an Obi-Wan show or movie or anything within that time period if it's not Ewan McGregor.
Yes, and plus he's aged now to be enough of the older Obi-Wan Kenobi that watches over Luke on Tatooine.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh my god,
it's right in between. He aged. It's gonna be right in between. It's literally perfect.
It's beautiful. I said too, it's gonna be so cool to see the natural progression of the aging of an actor in real time work perfectly for their idea.
Yes,
so awesome. I said too, it's like D23 was very mind blowing this year. And I said too, they announced the Avengers Land at Disneyland too. Did you see that
only caught some of that. I just didn't care.
Okay. I wouldn't mind going to Avengers headquarters at Disneyland.
No, are you kidding me? Like that's some of the most interesting parts of Disneyland for me. And even as it is now, like seeing the Hall of Armor and
it's been locked up inside of the Universal Studios theme park in Florida for years, and so finally they're getting it loosened up again. I don't know if the contract ended with Universal Studios or what, or does Universal Studios in Florida still have rights to any of this stuff for Marvel? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, with the whole thing of like Marvel and their leasing out of their properties, which was brilliant because it did help them raise the money back up to become what they did, where Disney was attracted to them again. But Disney's got to come to a point of like that. Okay, we have all this freaking billions of dollars. What's the number you want, Sony? Do you know what I mean? It's like that. What can we do to make this work? Do you know what I mean? It's like that. We put in another $10 billion and you still get 25%.
They bought like Star Wars for $4 billion. I would argue it should be no more than $4 billion for Spider-Man.
Absolutely. And like, what do they need? Is it $2 billion, $3 billion? It's like, there's so much revenue that they're going to pay off by doing this. And that's what I say too. I think Sony's got that knowledge in their back pocket too, is like, we got the most valuable franchise in the Marvel universe here. What number can we make them come to the table with before it's like, okay, you know what? Boom, there we go. Or maybe I don't know if you can do a trade-off, say for instance, they got everything's from Fox. We want the Aliens and Predator universe. Do you know what I mean? Trade something like that off.
I think at a point. Oh, I see.
Do you know it's like that? Here you go, Sony. We're going to give you Spider-Man back, but we want $2 billion plus the Aliens and Predator that you got from Fox.
Now you're thinking.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean something that's like it's going to be a benefit for Sony to take in something that they can make a money maker?
Get rid of the Simpsons too.
Yeah, it's like that. Do you know something like that where Disney doesn't need it to be successful. And Conan, Aliens, Predator, something that they acquired in this Fox transaction that they're never going to make more movies of. But it's a valuable franchise. That's why I was thinking maybe Aliens, Predator, maybe RoboCop, maybe something that is not as valuable to Disney. Because doesn't Disney and Marvel still own the rights to RoboCop?
I don't know where that.
New Line Cinema was when Marvel was with New Line Cinemas when RoboCop was first developed.
Okay.
And I don't know if Disney or Marvel sold off New Line Cinema and it's their own thing or what, but that's something that is like, what are some of these things that Disney has in their cabinet that will make Sony revenue, but then it's worth them getting Spider-Man back, where here's $2 billion plus Aliens and Predator, or $2 billion plus Conan, or $2 billion plus Goonies, or whatever type of thing franchise that Sony's going to be healthy with by acquiring.
Yeah, because obviously they're obviously looking for long-term revenue, and I just think Spider-Man is going to eventually die at Sony, and it's going to be being a dead horse. And then when Marvel finally does get it back, they're not going to want to do anything with it because there's just been movies and like forced down our throat. And they're going to have to wait a while to do it. I mean, they're doing it right now with X-Men. Yeah.
I just think Spider-Man's like one of those things, too, you can plug and play at any time. It sounds weird. It's like they did it with Tom Holland inside the Civil War movie. I mean, as I said, too, like they stopped the Andrew Garfield franchise. That was going to continue, obviously, into a third movie.
Which might have been bad because that second movie sucked.
Yeah. And as I said, too, we'll never know because like Marvel came to the table, the Sony, and said, hey, we got this idea. What do you think? You'll get this percentage of it. You guys, it's still your Spider-Man, but we're going to integrate it into the story. And we would like to get that permission or whatever percentage it works on this. Let's make this work because it's going to be mutually beneficial. And Sony bits with the whole thing of like that, hey, dude, this is great. Maybe they had the foresight to know. It's like, okay, maybe Sony came to Marvel and said, hey, what do you think about us integrating this into your universe, but it's still connecting into our universe? Who knows how it all came to be in the first place? Maybe that is out there how it came to be, but as I said too, is like just get Sony something they're going to make good money off of to get that final piece back into your franchise. And I think Sony will be reasonable with the fact of like that. You just want us to give you more money and you're not offering anything at the table right now to try to help us out beneficially. It's just like, okay, we got to cut the cord completely. Here's Spider-Man back. Boom. Here's something from our inventory of stock that you can really benefit from. I don't know. Just a thought.
I think that's a great idea. But really what it comes down to is just as fans, like you just want to see Spider-Man home and playing in a sandbox with everyone else. Cause that's the most
memes.
fun.
Have you seen all the memes?
Oh yeah, I've seen a ton of memes. Like
Spider-Man looking for a home. Spider-Man,
exactly.
Needs a home. Spider-Man homeless. I'm going, jeez, dude. It's very funny memes, but it's very sad that Spider-Man's going through this right now.
with all the
Like he's a real person, right?
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it almost feels like that way. I mean, it's part of, what we love, and it's just, It sucks to see it just fall apart. I can't believe the deal wasn't for 3 movies.
I know.
Like what? I don't know.
Was it 3 movies? Civil War, Spider-Man,
3.
and
It was
Homecoming?
three crossovers and 2 solo movies.
Yes.
So why wasn't it just 3 and 3? I couldn't just make sure you wrapped up the trilogy.
Yes.
Before anything, I don't know.
That's true, because there was the 3 Avengers movies, and then there's been the 2.
Yeah, you always do the movies in 3s. So why? I don't know. That's
a 5-movie deal, and that was
just my humble opinion, though. One of the weirder announcements I thought was them doing a Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan show, and
yes.
I'm not a fan of that character. She's pretty lame. I'm sorry.
Well, Marvel Rising is something that Disney and Marvel are really, really pushing hardcore right now.
I see that, and I wish she just stayed in there.
She's a member part of that Marvel Rising with Squirrel Girl and Spider-Man.
I love Squirrel
Captain
Girl.
Marvel.
Yeah. I have the Squirrel Girl doll from Marvel Rising in another room.
Like America Chavez. It's like Disney. I think Disney's wanting to create their, excuse the pun, Marvel princesses,
and that's fine.
And that's fine, but as I said too, it's like it's getting mixed reviews from fans. And I have no problem with it. I think I said too is like that. That's why Disney supposedly bought Marvel in the first place, is that they had the women's or the little girls audience, but they're struggling with developing the Disney boys audience. And that was one of the original rumors as why Disney approached Marvel in the first place. Because if you look at what was the Disney XD, the kids network? They were airing Spider-Man's Amazing Friends for a while. They're airing X-Men cartoons.
I see what you're saying.
Before the Disney Marvel deal happened, they were exploring the fact of, okay, what's the long-term interest in any of these properties? And I think that's why they're playing the old Spider-Man cartoon, the old X-Men cartoon, Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, things that even though they were 10 to 30 years old, was there still going to be ratings interest? And they got the answer they're looking for, because they obviously made the big deal to buy Marvel after that.
I mean, it's more than paid off.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't remember the number they spent on it, but they more than beyond made it back. It's just, there's so many cool female characters. I mean, like Black Widow is probably, and Domino are 2 of my favorite female Marvel characters. And it took this long to do a Black Widow solo movie. I don't know why they were so scared, because Black Widow is an incredibly cool character.
Yes,
I mean,
she's been in Iron Man and Avengers movies. She's been like the linchpin before even Captain Marvel.
And I don't think she needed to be a secondary character that whole time. And now that you've killed her, I mean, I don't know. I think she could have had a solo movie at this point, and maybe even another one. Why can Ant-Man? Well, no, because then he wouldn't have gotten the Soul Stone, because he doesn't love the Skrull. He loved Natasha.
That's true. I see what you're saying. Yes.
But I don't know. I think
Hawkeye a Skrull? I was kidding, dude.
Then the Skrull wouldn't have loved Natasha.
Well, they're both Skrulls.
So you're saying he was a Skrull the whole time and we didn't know it? Okay. No, because we're wrapping up his story. See, that's the thing is that's the thing with the Skrulls is either at this point we're at a point where it's now we've never seen the real version of that character, or it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just, it affects the dynamics of too many relationships in a way that doesn't work.
Because that Black Widow, the earlier Black Widow, the real Black Widow possibly had the feelings for the Hulk. Where this Black Widow obviously had major feelings for this Hawkeye.
It wasn't like I love you, like in that kind of a way. It was like a
super
brother
tight
and
friends,
brother and sister, love.
Brother and sister Skrulls?
No, no. But I don't think. Yeah,
there had to be purity of the heart in what happened there. But imagine, it's kind of a funny little twist to it.
Yeah, no, I think we'll get a Skrull twist eventually, but I just don't think that's it. But look at this Black Widow movie. It's going to have Taskmaster and Red Guardian. Those are some really cool characters that we're getting to tap into now. Yeah, they could have even been 2 separate movies. I mean, if you didn't ruin
I'm kind of pissed there's a Red Guardian character before an Alpha Flight group.
I think that's coming.
They better.
I'm honestly shocked that
because Canada's a lot closer than Russia still. Even
that's
though
right.
You can see Alaska from Sarah Palin's house.
Dude, Alpha
from Russia.
Alpha Flight is coming.
It better. Says that too. It's getting closer.
I am calling it now. that Alpha Flight, we might even get an Alpha Flight show or a movie before the X-Men. And I will tell you why.
Yes.
And I've said this in previous episodes. Marvel, even when it was not under Disney, has made characters pop up on shirts and merchandise like the Marvel Legends figure for no apparent reason. And then all of the sudden they're in a movie or something. Look at the Abomination right before that Hulk movie came out. I have a Marvel shirt in the other room.
It's an Abomination shirt.
It's not an Abomination shirt. It has a collage of characters. Like there's Hulk and Spider-Man and all these people. And then also Abomination for whatever reason.
They're test marketing the appeal.
Yeah, but they're also just like sticking them in. It's like, oh, see, remember Abomination? He's been here this whole time. One of the newest Marvel Legends waves not only features Guardian.
The Christmas Amazon.com set is an Alpha Flight set.
See, and that's another thing. They're doing a whole freaking Alpha Flight set.
Now I got to get a Build a Sasquatch now to complete the set because the Guardian's on its own in a different series. And then you have to, it's a core set because Guardian's his own piece. And then Sasquatch was a Build-A-Figure. And it just comes with the Snowbird, the North Star, the Aurora, the Puck, and Vindicator and Marina.
Yes, but they did Build a Sasquatch in a previous Legends wave, didn't they?
That's what it is. Like the Build a Sasquatch the Sasquatch that goes with that set is the Build a Sasquatch. And so they're not going to remake Sasquatch again.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes, like the Guardian that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That's part of the latest Marvel Legends set. That's the Guardian that fits with that set. So they're trying to get you to purchase Alpha Flight 3 different ways to complete the set.
Yeah,
it's almost like
and that's a Build a Wendigo in that Legends wave.
Yes, and so Wendigo another Canadian legend. It's not really, they don't tech him into Alpha Flight as much as Wolverine.
Oh, really? I thought he was a little more involved because
the Snowbird Sasquatch is technically kind of like a Wendigo, but it's a Tanorak still, because Snowbird Sasquatch killed the real Sasquatch. The Tanorak is more or less a demon spirit that is in the Canadian plains, almost like the Tasmanian Devil, New Jersey.
Okay,
it's like the Tanorak is a great beast, is what they call him up in Canada. And Walter Lankowski was trying to more or less recreate what happened to Banner to turn him into the Hulk.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because it's ironic because Immortal Hulk is loosely influenced by the creation of Sasquatch in a way, because they use Sasquatch as one of the demons that possessed humans to turn into monsters to get that, how would you say, I'm trying like that, the avatar of being on Earth.
Okay.
They needed a human avatar.
Okay.
So when Walter Lankowski was trying to recreate what happened to Hulk to himself, he released the great beast Tanorak to bond with him as his avatar.
Okay.
And Snowbird was created by the gods to defeat all the great beasts so they wouldn't take over Canada. And so Snowbird, the only way she could defeat a Tanorak, since Tanorak, the great beast, was created in the Canadian homeland by Walter Lankowski, creating it in the Canadian homeland, she was able to turn into one too as well. And so she became, since Snowbird can duplicate any animal from the Canadian plains, she duplicated the Sasquatch form and fought Sasquatch and ripped out his heart.
Okay.
And so she defeated the Tanorak, and Walter Lankowski was dead at that point. And then he went into the box robot, and eventually they did this whole thing like where Alpha Flight gets off the rails, unfortunately, sometimes. And he became Snowbird. And since she could turn into Tanorak, she more or less gave up her physical form to let Walter Lankowski become the physical form of a being again, which was Wanda Lankowski. It's super trippy.
That's confusing. Yes. I have a question because I'm not as up to date on my Alpha Flight lore as you.
I apologize, dude. It's super trippy at times. In fact, it got me to stop reading after a while.
I'm confused about Sasquatch versus Wendigo. They're separate characters.
So technically, a Wendigo is, because you've been reading Immortal Hulk lately?
No.
Okay. Immortal Hulk, the writer, oh my gosh, dude. I'm trying to remember who's writing Immortal. Al Ewing. I apologize, dude. Al Ewing, the writer of Immortal Hulk, has kind of, I just touched on like that's what his brilliance is all the different people that are man and monster.
Yeah.
He's tapped into the fact that these are all demons that are being released from hell and they're bonding with human hosts.
Okay.
And so
even Hulk.
Yes, Hulk himself even. And gamma radiation is a demonic radiation. And so it's kind of trippy. I said too is like that.
Is this 616 stuff?
Yes. Huh. Yeah, and Ali, it's very, how would you say it? Far-fetched in a way, but it's a new onion layer to what the Hulk is.
But I think they're doing that just to set up Sasquatch and Alpha Flight and have it just relate to the Hulk in some kind of way.
Oh, absolutely. You
because the movies influenced the comics.
Because like the origin of Sasquatch was Walter Lankowski and Bruce Banner were college roommates. And Bruce Banner was kind of like...
Who becomes Sasquatch?
Yes.
And who's Wendigo?
Wendigo is just someone that is up from the Canadian Great North, and they were doing mystical experiments, and they called on the Wendigo, and he was possessed by the Wendigo.
So it's someone else completely.
Yes.
Was Sasquatch ever white though?
That was Snowbird Sasquatch.
I see.
Because Sasquatch became the White Sasquatch because Snowbird turned into a Sasquatch.
Yep.
And she felt guilty for taking Lankowski's life. And so she offered, said she's a goddess.
You see why I'm confused, right?
Absolutely. Because like Snowbirds was a goddess that Shaman helped give birth to.
Okay.
Because like Shaman, do you know who Shaman is from Alpha Flight?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Like Shaman made an agreement with the gods and goddesses of the North to help raise the physical form of one of their gods. So it's almost like a the Jesus Christ story type of thing.
You know why I think I'm confused? And this is a really stupid reason.
Yes. A lot of people think that though. I've heard that before.
Well, I think
Wendigo's got a tail, Sasquatch does not.
Oh.
That's the main thing I can tell people.
Well, what confused me, honestly, I think was one of the first couple of sets of HeroClix. Yes. There was a Sasquatch character, and I think the third one, he was white.
Yes,
and I was confused, and I was like, this is Wendigo. Why are they calling him Sasquatch? Oh, I didn't realize Sasquatch was Wendigo, and I just made all these assumptions. So I think that's what threw me off was the other HeroClix.
Similar looking characters.
Yeah.
Like Wendigo is more of, I would say, kind of like a, I don't want to say bear-like. It's they're both Bigfootian.
Yeah,
like Sasquatch is more Bigfoot.
I guess I never really noticed the tail.
Yeah, and like in Wendigo, he's got like the long tail to it. And they're both Canadian urban legends.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
And probably that as well, just made me assume like these are all the same. And the HeroClix really threw me off.
Yes.
Especially I'm not the Alpha Fight fan that you are, but I mean, like they're cool. They're definitely, they're underrated. And I'm betting money right now, like where it's going to be a movie or a Disney Plus show. Dude, and what a great way to kind of do the true origins of like the Weapon X program and stuff without. And then you have Wolverine later. And how cool everyone's going to be so excited. Dude,
you could have Wolverine come into the X-Men through Alpha Flight first.
Exactly.
Because the Department H program is like so easy to bring Wolverine through there. And then also like Professor X came to Department H, he was going to be the leader of Alpha Flight. And so I said too, it's like the superhuman task force up in Canada. That was Alpha Flight.
And that's something fresh that we haven't had done in the movies. And it'd be really cool to see it done that way, and send them off to do, to go fight the Hulk in the wilderness. Cause we know now, and it's canon within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that Bruce Banner did go into some kind of wilderness in Canada. The snow.
That's where he met Wendigo. Not towards the return of Wendigo, because Wendigo was in issue 162, the first appearance.
Yes. Well, there was a deleted scene in the Ed Norton Hulk movie where he goes to shoot himself in the wilderness, but it was cut out. But we know the scene is technically canon because what's his name? Who Mark Ruffalo, who is now the Hulk, references that scene in one of the Avengers movies. Really? So we know at some point he left and was wandering around the wilderness, and we've never explored what happened
in that
aside from that. So like it happened. We're doing these flashback movies anyway. I thought it was a clickbait article that they were going to do a Wolverine versus Hulk movie. And I think that's a fantastic idea.
Oh,
but let's do Afroflight first. And then that can be like a spin-off movie. We get a fun Hulk versus Wolverine battle.
Yeah, because he was already in costume and working for the Canadian government at that point. So it's not just like him roaming out in the wilderness and runs into the Hulk.
Yep.
It was like that he was like almost an emergency 911 call, by Canada. It's like that. Oh, great. We got this disturbance out in the forest. Like Wendigo's having a battle with, it looks like the Hulk. And then they send out Wolverine to be the task force. Like we need superhuman task force to deal with this. And that's where they sent down Wolverine.
Wolverine versus Hulk. It's one of the classic fights of all time. Absolutely. It would be great to see that on screen for the first time.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait. I said too, it was like that would be great if they introduced Wolverine through Alpha Flight. That would be boom. It's like, okay. It's like, you have Wolverine, then all of a sudden, it's like at the end of the Wolverine movie, it's like that, here's your team. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't know, like if they could do that type of thing, like where, then the next movie, the Wolverine movie, is him working with Alpha Flight. And then at the end, Professor X shows up, says, hey, I need your help. Yeah, just like Giant Size X-1 type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also like to see X-Men without Wolverine for a little bit, because that's how it started.
Dude, that would be
as much as I love Wolverine, let's have a good Cyclops, because Cyclops so far in the movies has been kind of underwhelming. Like I'm not even that much of a Cyclops fan, but I think we could have done better.
We can even do the whole Weapon H thing, with the fact of you have Wolverine and Deadpool together as special agents type of thing for a while. And then I said too, the adamantium thing, like where they try doing more and more experiments, he breaks out like he did in the X-Men 2 movie. And then that's when he gets found in the wilderness by the Hudsons that bring him into the Department H program. And then it's from there, it's like, oh shoot, we have to keep this Weapon X program secret. So they kind of have to keep hands off of Wolverine. Do you know what I mean? Because the Weapon X program is maybe operating within Canadian government funds that's not supposed to be found, almost like Area 51 of the Canadian government.
That would be fun. It would be fun to have a whole separate set of stories.
Yes,
because the X-Men can hold their own without Wolverine for a little bit. I know he's a fan favorite, but like let's see all these other fun things of his mythology that we haven't even explored yet.
You can even go back to the fact of Captain America meeting up with Wolverine in World War II.
Oh my gosh, that's like,
do you know what I mean? Before
that's like a
you
dream.
Can do the chain of Wolverine before even having the X-Men. The Wolverine before World War II. The fact he meets up with Captain America in World War II.
I always thought that was like half of the reason why all the World War II battle sequences in Captain America were just like jump cuts. Like, okay, now we're fighting in World War II, and it was just a few jump cuts. So like you skipped a huge chunk of time in the middle of that movie. Like there's plenty of room for invaders.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, and then like Weapon H, as I said too, just goes down line. Even that's a good point. That's how you introduce the Namor. We talked about that before too, right?
Yep.
And the Human Torch, the timely Human Torch. I mean,
he was already in the first Captain America movie. He was on display at the Stark Expo.
Oh yes, yeah, dude. That's
Tony
true.
Stark lit him up. I mean, turned him on and sent him over.
Yeah.
Why not? Because he was obviously over there, right? Because he was talking like he didn't bring the android with him. I find that highly unlikely.
Dude, that would be Asa too. There's so much potential they can go with working with everything still. And it's going to be fun to see where it goes.
That's about all the time we have for today. Once again, thank you all for taking the time to make us part of your weekly routine and liking, sharing, subscribing.
Yes, it's like that. We appreciate all your support of everything that we do. I mean, if you want to hear more about comic books, check out Drawn to Comics. And, Blade O'Neill, everywhere that he is, dude, he's definitely fun. And we want to hear more from what you guys think.
Thank you all for listening.